Good morning and welcome back to Other Worlds Wednesday on Gaming with ADHD. Today I'm going to continue my review of the Shadowrun Core Magic Rulebook, Street Wyrd. Now, last week I took a look at the Adepts and Initiates, and today I'm going to take a look at the Spells and Spirits sections in the book. I will have a link to the other two videos in the description, so if you want to see what I said about the rest of the book, go ahead and look there. But then today I will also give my final thoughts on the book overall. But before we get started, do make sure you like the video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I do try to cover all sorts of tabletop gaming subjects, and I'd love it if you came along. In addition, if you are interested in getting a copy of Street Wyrd for yourself, I will have a link down to Drive-Thru RPG in the description as well. That is where I purchased my PDF, and if you purchase it through that link, I do get a little bit of a kickback so that I can purchase other PDFs and continue doing reviews and content on my channel. So with that out of the way, let's finish our look at Street Wyrd for Shadowrun Sixth World. So, real quick, just as an overview, if you haven't seen the other two videos, Street Wyrd was released by Catalyst Game Labs in 2021. It is 167 pages long, available in both print and PDF formats. You can get the print and PDF version from the Catalyst Labs game shop, or you can get just the PDF from Drive-Thru RPG. In addition, talk to your local retailer. They can order it in through their distributors, and you can purchase it through them as well. And then also, this is the second rulebook that they came out with after the core rulebook. The first being Firing Squad in 2020. So, by way of highlights, what the book is about, it is an expansion of the magic rules from the core rulebook. It doesn't replace the rules, it just adds on to them, such as rules for custom spells, expanded spirit companions, more adept abilities, alchemy, new magic traditions, initiates, magical groups, both how to create and existing groups, and then dark magics such as blood magic and insect spirits and shamans. Now, do keep in mind, as I've said before, this review is more about what do I think about the content that they've added. I'm not worried about whether it's balanced or our mage is too powerful. I really want to know, just does this information make me more excited about the game, about adding this material in and having new options for players and game masters alike. Okay, so the first section we're going to talk about today is the Tome of Now. That is the section of additional spells. The core rulebook came with approximately 75 spells, and Street Wyrd comes with approximately 80. It's just the list of spells. It's just different magic that you can use, and how useful it is basically kind of depends on your mage and what it is they want to accomplish with magic. Some of the spells are repeated from the core rulebook, and most of those usually seem to be when they are including an additional spell in a grouping type. So one example being Flame Strike, Fireball, and Hellblast. Basically, Hellblast is an upgrade of Fireball, but it adds the corrosive trait to the damage type. So, essentially it's a giant burst of flame being, sent at someone. So, because it's essentially an upgrade, they do include the other two so that you can see those for comparison. I did notice that. I also have let me find it, the mobile grimoire, which I will do a review at some point. The cards there also take the spells and group them again according to type. So like this, the Flame Strike, Fireball, and Hellblast. So it makes sense why some of the spells are repeated, but it is a little disappointing because you're getting content that you already have. All right. Now, after this, we have the elements of magic. So if you need a spell that it doesn't exist in the game yet, do it yourself. It's a 4-step process that they've laid out. You first select the spell type, either combat, detection, health, illusion, or manipulation. You then select the ingredients. Now, ingredients equal the spell effects. Okay, so whether it's increasing a statistic or a skill, or manipulating metal or plastic or stone, whatever it is, the ingredients to the spell basically are what it is your spell is trying to do. Affect technology, add a cold element, a fire element. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to classify the spell. So the ingredients will help classify it. Sometimes they will specify specifically whether it forces it into a particular category, or different things like your range, your duration, the type, or the drain. You'll then also specify whether it's a combat spell, either a direct combat spell or indirect. So direct being like a fireball, indirect being like Hellblast, where it just hits an area. And then illusion, and that's going to determine whether it's either a single sense illusion or a multi-sense illusion. So is it something they see, or is it something that they see and hear? Something like that. So just as an example on how this works. So I figured I would come up with a spell. So I looked through the list trying to come up with something different. They do actually give a couple of examples in the book, one using an existing spell and how they would build it using these rules, and then also a new one. But I looked through all of the lists and not sure if this exists in previous versions of the game, but using the Street Wyrd rules, I came up with a spell for what I'm calling a locator beacon. So first, you're going to select the type. So in this case, I chose a detection spell. Now, I realized that technically you are not actually detecting a spell or something, but I figured that because you are using it to track something, that it's similar to detection. So that's what I chose for the spell type. That gives us a base drain value of 1. Its base test is going to be sorcery and magic, and versus a body and willpower when the target is sentient, or resistance when they are not. Okay, so my thought process was this would be something like that you would cast on a vehicle, like a motorcycle or a drone, or some sort of a vehicle type object. You always see in the spy movies, they take the little GPS tracker and stick it under the wheel well. This is the same kind of a thing. All right, so the ingredients. So the first thing I picked would be gain information. Now, the way that they describe it in the book, gain information is used to gain information about an unknown object. A certain class of objects is selected with this ingredient, such as enchanted items or technical objects, each net hit tells the caster a piece of information about the target. So since I'm trying to use it to track somebody and their location or a vehicle, I would do that. So I would declare it as a technical object and that this is something that I want to follow. The next thing I chose was plastic, okay, because I figure in Sixth World, and even today, most of our vehicles, at least the outer frame or the outer covering, there's a lot of plastic. So your bumper fairing or the lights on your car, a spoiler, something like that. So there's going to be lots of plastic involved. And so if you were casting this, then you would cast it on, say, the headlight of a car or a tail light, something that the caster would be able to access, or you could use metal, so say that it's a door or a wheel or something like that where it's not made out of plastic. And then step 3 is going to be classification. In this case, it is general and the range is touch. So you have to get close enough to your vehicle or your drone to touch it and then cast the spell on it. And the duration will be limited. So you have the option of either instantaneous, sustained, limited, or permanent. And because this is a tracking spell, and if I keep casting tracking spells, then they're all permanent, eventually it's going to get really annoying trying to find tracking spells. So I opted to make it a limited duration. And with that, I'll get to that in just a second. But then it is also a physical type because it is something, at least my understanding of the rules, because it is interacting with a physical object, not just something in the astral plane. It's then a physical spell instead of a mana spell. All right. Then step 4 is the final touches. Now, in the final touches, this is where you're going to, give some of your special rules, how it's supposed to work, what it's supposed to do, what your successes mean. And so in this case, I said that the net hits set the duration of the spell at 1 hour per success. So if you get 4 successes, then that means you have approximately 4 hours in which you can track this particular object. And then finally, just as a description, this spell is going to create a beacon that is visible astrally, but it still made it a physical spell because it has to affect a physical object in the real world, and it appears sort of like a burning flare. Now, in my head, it's more something that over time it starts to get dimmer. So, so the longer it goes, the harder it is to track because the magic is wearing off. But I didn't have anything in the rules that declared that specifically, so I just put that in there as a bit of flavor. But that is my locator beacon spell. And as a complete newbie, in doing something like this, I actually found it really easy and kind of fun. I think that it gives players the option, especially the way that they describe magic in the Sixth World, where technically it's open to do everything. It's not restricted to just the spells that are printed in the book. So I really like that they actually gave this tool for you to work with so that you can come up with something, you're like, oh, I need to be able to do this. They didn't print it. Okay, I'll make it myself. Now, they do specifically state that if players are going to be making their own spells, they do need to work with the Game Master. Obviously, making the world's bestest, greatest, awesomest spell, while I may not necessarily care about balance, other Game Masters might. And even if I'm not necessarily worried about balance, is it going to make the game more fun? And in those cases, usually not. So, do keep in mind you do have to work with your game master if you're going to be making up new spells. But regardless, it's pretty easy and I think a great addition to the game. All right. So the last section we're going to talk about is a Congress of Spirits. Now, in the core book, they give you mentor spirits, and they give you 16 different types. So cat, bear, dog, things like that. In Street Wyrd, they give you 4 new mentor spirit types. They also give you rules for free spirits. So these are spirits that have broken free of whoever has summoned them. Maybe they were knocked unconscious. Maybe they were weak. They give a couple of different rules on how a spirit can gain its freedom. And in Sixth World, a free spirit is one that has broken free and decided, I like it here. I'm going to stick around. So they give you rules on how to interact with them, how the players will interact with them, because they are no longer summoned spirits, so they aren't necessarily bound to a player. And how are they different? How will they act differently? And I thought they did a really well with the information they provided there. They also gave rules for ally spirits, more powerful spirits that can provide different benefits, teaching, tutoring, things like that. When I was reading through this, I was kind of confused. There was one section where I'm not. Oh, there it is. So it says the spirit formula for an ally spirit is a representation of the spirit on the physical plane, similar to an initiate's thesis. See page 176 in Shadowrun Sixth World. That is incorrect because that goes into the Matrix section of the book. I believe that is going to be back in the Magic section, but I couldn't find it specifically. So, unfortunately, I did run into that problem, but what I was thinking is that this might be the avatar spirit that I mentioned in my last review about initiates, where it mentions the avatars. There's about half a column of text, and it's just fluff. There's no rules. There's no nothing. So I'm not sure if the avatar is this ally spirit, that they were talking about, but can be something that you can work with. And then they also give expanded rules for tasks and services that the spirits can do for you, because the spirits are summoned to either as an aid or a combat spirit or all sorts of different things. Go fetch me this item, and so they give you the different rules to cover that. All right, now I do want to point out one correction from my last review, which was about the adept powers, and I said I thought that they were mostly combat related. And per the author, they break down to about 20 combat, 14 non-combat, and 10 that can be used in either situation. Now, I realize that does still leave technically most of the adept powers available for combat, but I think this is a decent mix of those abilities, which I did say that last time, but I just wanted to clarify because I did get this information. I went mostly off of the titles of the powers and just my opinion on what they would be for. And he basically gave me a little bit of more information about what he had intended when he wrote it. So I do absolutely appreciate that feedback. I don't think it doesn't actually change my opinion on the adepts. I still think they're a great addition, and I think that they do give you a great mix of powers. But it's nice to know that they are trying to find things that you can do other than beating up, the bad guys. So at 20 specifically for combat, and 14 for non-combat, that's almost equal. Obviously, non-combat's a little less, but it's close enough for government work, if you ask me. All right, so what do I like about the book? First off, I like the direction that they are going with the setting. They absolutely seem like they are ramping up magic in the Sixth World to be something more. I'm not sure where they're going with it, but everything that they've been pushing out for Sixth World definitely says that there's something big happening with magic. So I think it's going to be a lot of fun, but obviously we'll see what happens as more books come out. I absolutely love that you get so many different character options. I mean, it is a rule book, but I like that it's rules and it's a toolbox for players and game masters to go in and make something for the game. It's not just, hey, here's the stats that we made. This is what you get. Have fun. It's, hey, we can't come up with everything, so here's some ways for you to do it. I realize that does put a lot of work on the players and the game masters, but let's be honest, sometimes that's better. It's, knowing that you have options for creating on your own, does help, but they also give you tons of content anyways. They're not, and it's content for all character levels. It's not just, you've been playing as a street mage for the last 10 years, so, you're super powerful. All right, here's some extra stuff. They give you stuff that can be used at any character level. If you're a new runner, it has stuff for you. If you're a seasoned runner, it has even more stuff for you. So, there's a lot that you can do with this book for your characters. In addition, alchemy. I know I didn't touch on it very much, but basically it's, hey, here's something that was made with magic and anybody can use it. So, there's actually a reason for non-mage characters to be interested in this book. I'll admit, it's not a lot. If you are a street samurai and you don't really need it, this book is not going to be very useful for you, but there is something. Borrow it from your buddy at the table. Okay? All right. Now, things that I don't like. This book was a bit overwhelming for me, being a relatively new player. Mostly, I realize that I've reviewed stuff that is more setting and fluff related, and that's a lot easier for me to wrap my head around. This time, I had to dig in and figure out, okay, what are the new rules? How do they differ from the rules that have existed previously? How are they changing the game? I called my channel Gaming with ADHD for a reason. This book absolutely stretched me on that, and I will admit I'm currently reading Firing Squad, and I'm running into a lot of the same issues. So there's a lot there. It's a little overwhelming, but you can get through it. One problem with it is if you don't know what you're looking at, it can get a little confusing. But with that being said, whether you like Facebook or Reddit or just the regular Shadowrun forums themselves, there are lots of great fans for the game. If you need some help, reach out. Ask me. I don't know everything, but I'm willing to get out there and ask people if you're not sure. So, that's one thing you can do to get over that. Another dislike, I think the book could use more art. I think I harp on this absolutely too much. But especially when there are multiple sections of white space in this book, I don't care if it's recycled art. I don't care if it's black and white art. I realize these are full color productions, but you know what? I love some of that old 90s, early 2000s black and white art that, it's not the greatest, but it just helped drive the setting home. Recycle some of that art, recycle some of the art from the from different books, focus in on a different section, but just, don't leave the white space. You're already printing it. It isn't going to kill you to fill in that white space, so you're not leaving it blank. All right. So in conclusion, if you are a mage, if you have mages in your game, I absolutely recommend this book. I think it does a lot to advance not just the setting, but just give players a lot of new stuff that they can do with their characters. And in the end, that's what's important. Can people do more with the game, have fun, expand their options? And I think this book absolutely does that. The core book kept a lot of these concepts, to the bare minimum. Hey, we know you can do this, so here's enough rules to hold you by. I think this is a great way for, if you're a mage, here, you can get those rules. If you're not, and you don't care, you don't need to pay for those. So, in the end, absolutely, I recommend this book. And, I hope you found this review useful. So, thank you for watching. I do appreciate your time. I realize that over 3 videos, it's been quite a bit. But if you found this content useful, I would absolutely appreciate that you give the video a thumbs up. And if you're not yet subscribed to the channel, I would absolutely love it if you did that. Like I said, I'm trying to get lots of great content out. I cover all sorts of things from board games to card games to role-playing games. All of it tabletop related. But, come along and, let's have some fun. So, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you next time. Bye.